What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew, and it is take 2 on our preview episode of the Paul James Show, the preview before Geelong and GWS this weekend. Apologies to everyone who's piling into the comments again now. Let's try this all over again. I, like the clown I am, basically just doxed myself by revealing my address and my phone number. That video has been purged from the internet. Good luck trying to find it. Let's try this all over again. I feel like a damn fool. Thank you, all of you in the comments, for just encouraging me to just hit restart on that one 3 minutes into the video. Let's go through the run of show tonight as if nothing ever happened. It is our preview episode. We are going to go through match selection. The teams have come out. Of course, there's plenty of opportunity for those teams to be revised and updated going into Sunday. We've got a bench that we'll need to thin out a little bit. We're going to preview the game against the Giants in a great deal of detail. We're going to explore the other games that are being played, including the Thursday night matchup between Fremantle and Collingwood that is on as we speak. We'll dive into some mail that arrived for me. This time I will not dox myself, but a package that has arrived for me from Ben. You can all take a guess as to what it is. And I suspect most of you would be right. I think I'll be right too, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. And we won't make the same mistakes that we made last time. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and having a good laugh at that one. I've done so many unboxings over so many years for video game related things and things I've been sent by PR, and I've never made that mistake. My God. I'm just not used to it in this footy context, so I just wasn't thinking. Anyway, we'll go through our little mail parcel here. We'll jump into your Q&A. We'll talk about the game of the show and a whole lot more. Let's get into proceedings here. We need to bring up our graphics. We need to get everything working because we've had to hit restart on the show tonight. We'll begin by looking at the teams for this week, and there's been changes all over the place for both teams. The Cats, we see the return of Brian Myers. He comes back from his concussion. Ted Closey, George Stevens remain on the list. Jed Buse is back from his finger injury. Jay Polkinghorne potentially in line for a debut. The first time that he's been listed anywhere other than the emergencies list. So that's really exciting to see. But of course, this extended bench will be thinned ahead of the game on Sunday. What can we make of it? Well, of course, the first thing, of course, is the potential debuts of George Stevens and Jay Polkinghorne. They have been lingering around on the periphery for quite some time. And, there's every likelihood that they could be the subs, on the emergencies for this matchup. But if that's the case, so be it. They are kicking the door down. They're performing so well in the VFL at the moment that I'm sure a debut is getting close. Whether it's this week against the Giants remains to be seen. This is obviously a very important matchup for the Cats. So if we're talking about just the stakes, they probably couldn't be much higher. But I'm sure they'll perform admirably if that ends up being the case. In terms of the outs, we see Lawson Humphries, who goes out with a delayed concussion. There was a hit that he took during the game. We saw the claret coming out during the game. But there was a delayed concussion there that has meant that he's going to be sitting this one out. Hopefully we'll see him back again next week. And Reece Stanley with the hamstring that we all saw during the matchup last week. For the Giants, a few big ins. So far, only one out, Darcy Jones. But we see Jake Riccardi, Harry Rouston, Cody Angrove, and Ryan Angwin come in. Angove being the potential debutant there for the Giants. We've got some milestones across the board for both teams here, with obviously George Stevens and Jay Polkinghorne potentially set for their debut. Tom Green is playing his 100th, and as we mentioned a moment ago, Cody Angove is also going to make his debut if he plays. He's featuring on the bench at the moment. There are, of course, some talking points from this one, and Kate has just hit the nail on the head. No Tom Stewart. Who, I think I saw footage of him doing, some sprints during the week and trying to build the body up. I'm sure I saw some footage from training during the week, and he was looking pretty sharp, but conservative, I suppose. And I don't blame the Cats. Let's be careful. Let's look after our players. We've got defenders coming out. We've got defenders coming back in. I can deal, but let's see how he goes, I suppose. The advantage is, and Shadu just talks a little bit about Jed Buse. Obviously, they're not necessarily like for like, but Jed Buse has been able to keep the running game going for a while, so his body's going to be good to go. Might be lacking a little bit of touch. That could be, I guess, a potential concern and a risk there. With Mitch Duncan having come back in last week, with Jed Buse returning now, and obviously the incredible job that Ben, we don't need to alert people to what the mistake any further. With Jed Buse and Mitch Duncan back, I think we'll be okay in that respect. Zach Guthrie's been doing a fantastic job in the halfback flank role, kind of playing that intercepting role. Hopefully, we can all hold up against a pretty strong, pretty potent GWS forward line, one that's littered with some really high-quality forwards from Cadman to Stringer, Hogan and Toby Green to, I guess, really focus on the big names there. As we alluded to, we don't know our actual bench yet. That is still to be revealed with an extended bench right now, but and that'll obviously help us reveal our emergencies as well. Notable absentees, of course, there's Tom Stewart, as we just alluded to, but also Jake Kolajasny, who still hasn't quite gotten back into full flight through the VFL yet. Hopefully he's not too far away. And Shadu, I think, kind of nails it with the matchups there for my mind. I'd probably flick things the other way. I'd probably rather see Sully go on Cadman and Hogan be taken by Sam de Koning, just due to that experience, Sam having a bit more size. Neither of them are necessarily the bulkiest of key defenders yet, but I think I'd probably rather de Koning on Hogan, just that bit of extra experience. But yeah, that's my gut feel right now when it comes to that particular one. Ben's also made another note milestone-wise here. It's not quite Jack Crisp, but Paddy Dangerfield is going to be playing 21 consecutive games this week. I guess we're going to continue to recognise that every single week now. We're going to take a look at the injury list here. Of course, that has been discussed quite a lot, and there's been a bit of an update on the way that is being delivered at the moment. Thank the Lord. Let's bring that one up now, and we'll discuss that in a little bit of detail because there's been some commentary. There's been a memo come out from the AFL about clubs and the level of detail they put in there. I would say Geelong has done all they can to still not reveal their hand entirely, but we are seeing a few more timelines in this particular scenario. Obviously, Tom Stewart we know is out. Mitch Nevitt with his plantar fascia still listed as a test. We heard some of the commentary around that during the week. Reece Stanley 1-2 with his hamstring. Jack Henry 1-2 with his hamstring. Jack Martin, finally, after being listed as TBC for a while, is now listed as 3 weeks with this management plan that he's going through. Cam Guthrie nearing return 3 weeks. Graham Myers, we now know, is out of the concussion protocols. Lawson Humphreys goes into concussion protocols. And then the rest of this is pretty much as you would recall, save for the name at the bottom of the list here, who suddenly no longer has a finger injury. But as many of you know, we won't be talking about that in any more detail, not until everything is public. So Mitch Edwards management to be confirmed, Toby Conway back to be confirmed, Jacob Mollier with his indefinite management, Killian Burke, Lenny Hoffman, knee and back indefinite respectively, and yeah, Tanner Bruin listed as unavailable. All right. Let's get into some players that are potentially under pressure here. And Ben's thrown a few names at me, but I can't say that I necessarily agree too much. He's listed for us to discuss tonight 2 individuals, Mitch Duncan and Ollie Wiltshire. I've got no concerns with either of these gentlemen. Now, of course, Ollie probably finds himself in this situation simply due to the fact that he is new. And as such, you know, you haven't got the runs on the board. If there's an opportunity for someone to get replaced, it's often the new bloke. With Grian coming back in, you probably, you know, if you're talking about straight swaps, there's potentially an obvious outcome there. But so he might be at risk, not because he's necessarily done anything wrong. And congratulations, of course, to Ollie Wiltshire on kicking his very first AFL goal in that third quarter at a pretty important time, I might add, against the Pies. But he may find himself out as a result. Mitch Duncan, I've got no concerns about. I've obviously already mentioned that, but I've got no concerns about Mitch Duncan at all in the starting 23 this week, even with the returns of Jed Buse. I think that the fact that Lawson's out means that he's safe for a little bit longer. Game 398 for him. Let's shift into preview mode a little bit now. And there's obviously not much to see, so we'll just kind of keep those teams. Actually, we might bring up some team stats and kind of talk and compare the pair a little bit here. But 3:20 on Sunday at GMHBA Stadium. Let's, of course, not lose sight of the fact that the Giants have now won 4 games in a row against the Cats at GMHBA. It's not great. I don't love it. It worries me going into this. They play the ground quite well. They understand its dimensions. They've got a good history. Surely, though, with the form that we're in, off the back of a fantastic win against the Pies, the fact that the Giants aren't necessarily flying at the moment, a disappointing loss in the battle for the bridge last week. Ben should make a Paul James Show rules book for the description of the streams and the channel page, and probably just one that I can refer to whenever I need to as well, because I feel like he's adding a new rule every week. But yes, rules 1 and 2, we don't talk about TB. The average crowd for the last 2 meetings between these two teams is $26,000. 26,000 people. That is, of course, between a game at GMHBA and one over for the home game for the Giants as well. The weather prospects, though, 21 degrees and sunny. You'd love to see it. Try and get yourself to GMHBA Stadium if you can on the weekend. It's going to be great conditions. Recent form, the Cats are currently sitting 7th on the ladder, off the back of their win against the Pies. The Giants in 8th. And where are we? 5 and 3 for the Cats. We've won 4 of the last 5. The Giants have lost a few recently. They're on a 3-game losing streak, but they have won those 4 straight at GMHBA. We've lost our last 2 against the Giants, obviously pinching one over there. Geelong currently are... yeah, we're not leaning into no nipple territory. Sorry, that is... we'll leave that to Lucas in Postgame Live. For whatever the odds are worth to you, the Cats are $1.44 favourites as of this time of writing the show notes, actually. Last time we played was at GMHBA Stadium, and the Giants pipped us by 4 points. Didn't love the occasion. I was kind of ruining that whole one. It wasn't great, but Tom Hawkins surpassed Joel Selwood as the Geelong Games record holder that night, so it was a bit of a shame that we couldn't get the win in the end. The Giants led by as much as 31 points early in the third quarter before we came storming home. It was one of those Geelong 2016-2017 games where they let themselves get headed, and then there's the admirable comeback. And of course, we've seen it work out for us at different occasions, like Collingwood last week. Perhaps not as extreme in terms of the margin, but a really disappointing first half. Gave the opposition a good head start. Tried to come storming back into it, failed to do so. But the Giants are a high-quality team. We cannot afford to give them a head start. There's got to be a bit of a foot-on-the-throat mentality from pretty early on if we want to get this. We want to get this win. Toby Green kicked the match-winning goal late in the fourth. GWS's only score for that quarter, and it came at a pretty important time, sealing the win for them. It was also the first time that Chris Scott had lost 4 straight games as a coach. For Geelong in that game, Tom Hawkins kicked 2. Max Holmes had 32 disposals and kicked a goal. Tom Atkins with 14 contested possessions and 9 tackles. Whilst for the Giants, and it's important that he's coming back in this week, Jake Riccardi, I might just bring those lineups back actually in the ins and outs. Jake Riccardi kicked 4 last time. Toby Green had 24 disposals, kicked 2 goals, including that final goal of the game. Kieran Briggs as a ruckman, 21 disposals and 7 tackles. He is dangerous. He's a big unit, and we are, of course, now without Reece Stanley going into this game. So the ruck situation will be a very intriguing one, and I'm curious to see how we play that one. Does Mark Blitzarves kind of play a semi-permanent ruck role this week? Do him and Sam De Koning rotate a little bit? It'll be a really fascinating one. They'll get Kieran Briggs for athleticism, but the physical aspect is a bit of a scary one, I think. This will be the 17th matchup between these two teams dating back to 2012. Geelong have won 56% of those games. We had 1 draw in 2017. It was a pretty epic one, if everyone recalls. The last 6 games, the Giants are up 4-2. But recent finals history, and that's what really matters, right? 2021 semi-final, the Cats won by 35 points, and we would then be smashed by Melbourne the following week in the prelim final. We don't talk too much about that one. There's another rule for the list. There are some memorable matches along the way. Unfortunately, not all of them are hugely favourable for the Cats. There's the round 11 game from 2023. The Giants won by 4 points. The round 4 game in 2019. The Giants won by 4 points. As we mentioned, the 2017 draw in round 15. Tom Hawkins missed a set shot to win it in that particular case. Fair enough that he, after that epic one against the Hawks, you got to square him up. Round 11, 2016, the Cats by 10 points. Steve Ajay played his first game back in Geelong, representing the Giants, of course, at that point. And then going back to round 18 in 2014, the Cats by 7 points. Lots of close games. These two teams, even when the Giants were new, they scared us on a couple of occasions. There's one match that it was the Joel Selwood Milestone match, I think it was. The Milestone captaincy match where, that can't be right. Whatever it was anyway. Dan Menzel lit it up in the final quarter to bring us home there. Fantastic. Briggs was injured late last week. Don't think he'll be a threat for us. I haven't actually seen any footage of that. So curious, what sort of injury was it, Aaron? That'd be really helpful in this one. Freo off to a good start, apparently, 27-7. Thank you for the update. We will be looking at that shortly. What's at stake in this matchup? Well, for Geelong, we just need to get a win at home against the Giants, right? 4 in a row. We've got to break that. But beyond that, of course, we want to stay in touch with the top 4. Mentioned it last week. There was a chance that we were going to go 4-4 off the back of that matchup. We didn't. We're 5-3. We want to keep building that wins against losses ratio. More and more favourable for us, ideally. For the Giants, there's a chance to go 5 straight against the Cats at GMHBA, but also, and importantly, I talk about Geelong and their position in the top 8. For the Giants, there is a flood of teams that are in that 4-4-ish position, and you want to stay ahead of the ledger wherever you can. So, for them, really, really important matchup. Game breakers. For me, I think this is my most outlandish so far, but I also think most of you would, compared to everything else that I've discussed, but I also think most of you might agree with the sentiment. For me, I think one of the most important matchups in this game, off the back of how successful he was last week, is what we do with Oisin Mullen. And I think Finn Callaghan is the player. He's the one that we need to pop him on this week. He's athletic, he can run, he can accumulate the ball. Sounds a lot like Nick Dacos, right? I think we can play him in a very, very similar way. And he hasn't had to face the tags significantly up to this point. So could be a bit of a harsh reality check for him. May not handle it as well as Nick Dacos did, even though Dacos's disposals weren't as high quality as usual. Still had a few score involvements, kicked a goal himself, 20-odd, 25, 28 disposals, something like that. I don't think Finn Callaghan is capable of, at this point in his career, of handling it as well as Nick did. So this could be a real opportunity for us. For the Giants, though, put Mullen in the ruck. Why not? Really roaming. Dacos is in the Freo game is still no disposals with 6 minutes to go. That's a bit crazy. For the Giants, the game breaker there, as far as I'm concerned, is Jesse Hogan. If he gets off the leash, then we're in a bit of trouble. It also would be good if we could stop Toby Green, because he's got a fantastic record against us, and I'm a bit tired of him popping up at important moments in final quarters. That game last year wasn't the first time he's done that, by the way. The keys to victory for me, for the Giants, I'll start with the Giants, actually, in this case. It's their defenders. Now, we've got a wonderfully potent forward line that is still kind of learning the ropes and how it wants to function. But their defensive unit is very strong. Connor Iden, Sam Taylor, Harry Himmelberg, Lockie Whitfield, Jack Buckley, Lockie Ash. They are all exceptional defenders and have been doing this to a high standard for a very, very long time. And I look at that and I don't really see obvious weaknesses there. Makes me worry. Our forward line's fantastic, don't get me wrong. But we need to be able to win that matchup for the Giants. If their defenders can get on top, we're in a bit of strife because they're so potent in every other aspect of the ground as well. For me, though, the main priority for the Cats is the same thing I feel like I talk about every week. We need to at least get some sort of parity in the midfield, get the clearance numbers, maybe even win the clearance count. Effective ones too. lace out some targets, sort those, like give those forwards a chance. They're going to have a tough opposition here. Lower the eyes, look for some of those short passes, get it. And we spoke about it last week and the way Geelong changed its game plan against the Pies. Lace out 60 to 70 meters out, get into that launch zone, and then fire it in if you need, or look for that link up handball and try and drill it from 50 on the run. There's lots of opportunities there, but we need to get it safely into that launch zone before we kind of bomb long. We would, earlier in that game, in past losses as well, we've been trying to do it from 90 meters out and delivering, pumping the ball in deep. Pumping the ball long to 40 meters out. It's just not effective. It's not effective football. Ultimately, though, my prediction for this match is that the Cats will win to the tune of 2 goals. It's not going to be a big margin. These two teams know how to play a close one. And I think we'll get it done, but only by 12 points. Let's go back into the records a little bit here and talk about some history between the Cats and the Giants, players who've been between both teams. There's been a few Cats that have made their way over the Giants in the history of the club, GWS specifically here. Of course, the most notable of those is Stevie Johnson, but he's not been alone. There's been some pretty quality blokes that have gone up there as well. Josh Hunt, premiership player as well. Shane Mumford went over to the Giants for a while. Dawson Simpson, where he basically killed Mitch Duncan at one stage too, by the way. There's that, what's his name? KSI? Whatever his name is. That reaction video to it. Still one of the funniest things I've seen. And Dawson Simpson made his way over there as well. Meanwhile, Giants who became Cats, just one really prominent bloke and one that we're not talking about in a great deal of detail at the moment. Jeremy Cameron, of course, left the Giants and became a premiership player. Tanner Bruin being the other. I'm going to dive into some trivia now. So everyone, I hope you are ready here. We're going to talk about a little bit of trivia between the two teams here before we jump into our ad for Cyril Cook Florist. And then, of course, dive into the mystery parcel here. First question for everyone watching tonight. Hit me up in the comments on YouTube. Hit me up in the comments on Twitter if that's where you're watching it as well. The player who has kicked the most goals in a game between these two teams. Who is it? Roaming, when we get to Q&A, I will talk a little bit more about AFL 26, but please also stay tuned for a video going live on the Hoops Crew YouTube channel tomorrow. I played my very first match of AFL 26, captured it for you, and it'll all be online tomorrow. So, again, which player has kicked the most goals in a game between Geelong and the GWS Giants? And bonus points if you can tell me what that number of goals was. I'm seeing Jackie with Tom Hawkins. The answer is no, it is not Tom Hawkins. You would think so, but it's not Tom Hawkins. It just says which player. Which player? But I'll give you a hint. It is a Geelong player. So let's narrow it down a little bit there. Which Geelong player has kicked the most in a matchup between these two games? Ben hasn't been specific here with his little Q&A. But let's say which Geelong player. So no to Jeremy Cameron. Well, assuming Ben's giving me the correct information here. No to Jeremy Cameron. More than Menzel 6. Did Dan Menzel kick a game? Did he kick 6 in a game against? Kicked a few clutch ones. Not Stevie J. I'll narrow it down a little bit. 6 goals is the max, according to Ben here, sorry. You better not be feeding me wrong information. Don't know what his source is. 6 goals is the largest number of goals in a game scored against the Giants, according to what he's provided me. He's a Geelong player that we all love very much. No, that's going to give away too much. I'll give another minute before I maybe drop a really obvious hint. Ben claims that he's never wrong. Right. Parcel's too big to be just pajamas. 2009 Premiership player. Not Patrick Dangerfield. Not Cam Mooney. What if I said that he was a defender? That's maybe giving a lot away now, but I'd imagine the answer is going to pop up very quickly in the comments now that I've just dropped that defender line. Aaron with the answer. Harry Taylor kicked 6 in a game against the Giants in 2012. The next question is the player with the most hitouts in a game. And this is regardless of team. Regardless of team. Ben says collar. No. So the player, either team, with the most hitouts in a game between Geelong and the GWS Giants. It's not Shane Mumford, Jackie. Should be Mummy. We love Mummy. It's pretty recent. Pretty recent for that one. Leaning into the ruck story. It is not Oshin Mullen. Not Shane Mumford, Mark. It's quite recent. Can someone say Reece Stanley just for... Can someone just say Reece Stanley just because? Throw it in there. I don't care. He might represent the opposition. Not Clark Keating, JL. Oh, and thank you, Roaming, for dropping the Reece Stanley in there. I appreciate that. Reece, because I asked nicely. Rifle, I was thinking it's not Stanley. It is not Reece Stanley. It's definitely not Clark Keating either. It's not Toby Conway. He represents the opposition team this weekend. That's me giving away a lot now. In fact, I've probably said too much. Kieran Briggs, 44 hitouts in the game last year, 2024, against the Cats. Paul James, ruck extraordinaire. My 182 centimeters will serve us nicely in the ruck. 184, I think, whatever it is. I haven't checked in a while. Next one. And again, let's stress this, regardless of team. Which player has the most disposals in a game between these two teams? Sava Radigalia. Which player has the most disposals in a match between the Giants and the Cats? Either team. The umpires, outside of the umpires. Lockie Whitfield, no, but that's a fantastic answer because he's a pretty obvious candidate. He does have the ball on a string at times. The number, to maybe narrow it down just a smidge and make it a tiny bit easy for people, 45 disposals was the number. Oh, Shadoo's got it. There we go. Shadoo's got it. Paddy Dangerfield. Paddy Dangerfield with 45 disposals. Roaming follows up with the same name. 45 disposals for Patrick Dangerfield in 2017. Our final question here. Which player has the most tackles in a game between these two teams? I'm suspecting, actually, that it might even be in the exact same game. Geelong, 20... I forgot. Yeah, we played 2 games between them that year. We won one of them by 44 points, and the other was the draw. No, it's not Jed Buse, but a savvy answer when we're talking about tackles. Underrated is the defensive pressure of Jed Buse at times, I think. Let me see if I can find... That said, if this stat is right, Ben might actually be wrong with this answer. That's the draw. Let me take a look at the answers here. No one has got it so far. I'm seeing Danger. I'm seeing Atkins. I'm seeing Oshin Mullen. I'm seeing De Boer. None of those players, according to my answer here, have the large number of tackles in the game. But I am going to double check this as we go, because I did see something that's making me question the bloke who says that he's never wrong. That's the draw. Come on. I'm going to go out there with an answer, and I'm going to, in a moment, I'll give everyone another minute, and then I'm trying to rapidly fact check our answer here. So again, the Geelong player who has the most tackles in a game. Oh, sorry, I've just said Geelong. But the Geelong player who's had the most tackles in a game between the Giants and the Cats. And I feel like there might be controversy around this one, because I don't reckon Ben's got it right. I don't reckon you've got it right, Benjamin. I love it. Absolutely love it. Box score, let me check. Ben, I can't find the data for the game that you're suggesting this occurred in. Ben's answer, and I'm desperately trying to find something to give me a little bit more info here, but Ben's answer is Scott Selwood with 12 tackles in one of our two 2017 matchups. I was looking at something that showed Paddy Dangerfield in one of those 2017 matchups with 13. But I'm not convinced about it. I'm trying to... Lockie Whitfield led the charge with 8 in the game earlier in the year. That's the one that was the draw. And then the round 23 matchup, it says Scott Selwood with 12. But I don't know. There must have been something else that was being recorded weirdly on the other site. We'll go with it. Scott Selwood with 12 in 2017. All right. From there, especially when I started questioning Ben, I kind of caused things to drag out for a moment there. After this, we're going to explore the contents of this fascinating parcel that's arrived. I'm sure you've all been salivating at the prospect of finding what's hidden within. But we're going to do that after a word from our sponsor.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase.
Thank you, Cyril Cook Florist, as always, for your ongoing support of the Hoops Crew and all we get up to. Now, Ben Reeve, the arsehole that he is, has sent me a fascinating little package, and I won't turn it anymore because I don't want to now dox Ben. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I will after this. We'll just see. I've got his address here. His phone number begins with an 04. And yes, we're seeing those scores. Pies in front. Let's explore what is in this package. Now, you'd all think Ninja Turtles pajamas. There's something solid in here. And so I'm figuring that I'm getting some sort of toy or figure or some sort of shit. And there's probably some. Oh, anyway, we'll see. I'm gonna have to kind of rip it open off camera to an extent. I don't want to expose my dress or Ben's again. But what an asshole. Which Ninja Turtle the other day did I say that I was the one that was most like? Does it vibrate, Ben says. It's the sort of stuff you get live on the Paul James Show. Michelangelo. We'll take a look. We'll crack it open. Shadu says he can go up next to my last of us figures. I would never lower the standards. I would never lower the standards of that shelf and put a fucking Ninja Turtle next to Joel and Ellie. How dare you? How dare you suggest that this little turd could go up there next to it? But anyway, there's that. There's a little extra bandana thing, whatever that is. Oh, look. Little thumbs up. A piece of pizza that looks revolting. So we got ourselves a little Ninja Turtle. Oh, and there's, sorry, of course. Ninja Turtles have themselves a weapon, right? That's Shannon Pizza Neal. All right. The other half is, of course, what I'd imagine you've all been waiting for. In large. I don't know quite what you're suggesting here, Ben. %100% cotton, made in China. Good thing we got it in before the tariffs arrived. Very blue. I think the lighting's got a bit to do with that, but Jackie with the amazing comment there. There goes the Patreon budget. Yeah, did you use Patreon dollars to get this? We'll see how that goes. Barrel chest. Yeah. Sam, you've missed us having a chat about the debutantes. Please don't. I mean, inevitably we'll talk more about it as the show goes on, but don't. We'll definitely get back to that one a little bit later. It's not it's a t-shirt, not a pajama shirt. But you know, I guess I could wear it as a pajama shirt and then Winnie the Pooh it from there down. But I would never show you all what that would look like because that would get us kicked off YouTube. Don't worry, Sam. We'll inevitably talk more about it shortly. So that... Are we clear on this? Hang on. Before I put this on, are we clear on this? Are these pajamas? Is that a pajama shirt? Before I do anything rash here, I need a definitive answer from you, our beloved Hoops Crew community. Sorry, did you just say Alex Pearce kicked a goal? Definitively. Is this a pajama shirt? Before I do something rash here. Oh, Pommy's just popped up in the chat just in time for me to get my Ninja Turtles gear. I don't know how often you've been popping in, Pommy. So there's a whole lot of lore that's been building in recent weeks. The sentiment is no. So if I wear this, I'm not breaking our rule about 50 patrons equaling Ninja Turtles pajamas, right? I'll give the people a slice, a taste, a slice. Yeah, we'll stick with the slice after the pizza thing. A slice of what you've been asking for months now. Ben, next time, medium, please. Ugh. Fuck me. All right, here we are. There it is. Not Ninja Turtles pajamas. You got to stay tuned. Stay tuned for Ninja Turtles pajamas. Should do. It's as it should be. Praise the Lord. 13 more patrons. We've hit 37 paid patrons. 50 is the goal number here. If you're keen, pajamas, winter ones, Ben. They've got to be winter flannel, please. If we get to 50, you get yourself your Ninja Turtles pajamas. It's not a bad t-shirt, actually. The blue, like, it might just be the key lights on it, but gee whiz. Like, it pops. Ben says clip it. Mate, you're going to do the clip it job and you're going to put it on socials. That's your job. You're not on camera. Get to work. Fuck. All right. All right, let's move on with proceedings here and talk about the rest of the round, including, of course, the game that is on as we speak. That is, of course, the Freo and Collingwood game, which, thanks to the comments, it's been back and forth for a little while now. We've been talking a little bit about the scores. We can see that the Dockers are up by a point right now, or 2 points right now, 5-4, 34 to Collingwood's 5-2, 32. And someone mentioned Alex Pearce kicked a goal before, which blows my mind. He has. He's kicked a goal. You're shitting me, Shadu. They were banned when I was a kid in Australia for a while because kids are jumping on roofs. Imagine if Freo dropped this when the Pies go with their B team. Yeah. I mean, look, hang on. Let's double check this because I've heard that commentary. I know you're being a bit flippant, Pommy, but you know, we think about the outs. They've dropped 4. Now, injuries happen to teams, right? Collingwood at the moment mostly in pretty good health, as far as I recall. They've dropped 4. They've brought in 1, being Jeremy Howe, but Markov was there for a premiership as well, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he played in that premiership team. They haven't just tossed everyone out. And I've said, and Pommy, I know you're, having a joke, but I've seen the sentiment a bit this week that the Pies are bringing in their B team. This is, I don't look at that and think that's a B team. I think that is a very dangerous team that in any given week, yes, they're absolutely a little bit weaker now, but not significantly so. But yeah, the Pies look tired, Shadu says. Right, okay, that's fascinating though. Thanks, Blakey. We need to talk. I was, funnily enough, talking to your brother the other day, not realizing that he was your brother. Talking to your brother the other day. We've got a collab when it comes to the Cats and the Dogs game in a few weeks. I had no idea how much you were smashing it on the YouTube side, so we need to have a bit of a chat and collab going into that game. But well, you know where to find me anyway, mate. So I don't need to dox myself for you to know where I am. All right, and if you're out of the loop, for everyone who's tuned in a little bit late tonight, like the idiot that I am, I've done a lot of on-camera work for quite some time. in the video game realm. I've done lots of unboxings. I've had lots of amazing things sent to me by PR teams, and I've successfully navigated that without ever managing to tell everyone what my address is. Not this time. For anyone I've deleted, anyone new, I deleted the video. This is a totally different stream now. The video's gone. I managed to show this off and show off my address and phone number before, like the dipshit that I am. When I was, going a bit through some of the theatrics for this. So here we are. All right. Let's get into some of those other games though. So we obviously spoke about the Dockers and the Pies. Apparently, and I can't access it, that's behind the paywall. But Pommy says, so they've dropped Football IQ, still a good side, be the most Freo thing ever to get battered by the Saints and then smash the Pies. Absolutely. That team, the gap between their best and their worst, I think is greater than any club in the competition right now. It's enormous, the difference between a Freo team that is on versus a Freo team that is off. And I would still say, looking at these scores, where are we? Halfway through the second, without having watched the game at all, just purely based on the scores, no eye test. It's maybe not too bad, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anyway. Kept it to yourself during the school years. Yeah, well, you did that really well. Your brother outed you, though. But anyway, let's get into the rest of the round here and talk about some of these other games that are still to be played. We'll revisit this one before the show is out. The other matchups for the round. Pommy is here just in time. Quick, order pizzas to his and his neighbor Raphael. Sorry. That video is now dead. It better be. But Pommy, I want some of your thoughts here. Drop them in the comments here. Saints and the Blues. Obviously, it's been a roller coaster ride for your Blues in the last few weeks alone. Premiership fancies after beating us, and then suddenly back to rock bottom. There's another goal to the Dockers. What do you expect from your guys this week? Are you going to get the win? This is Spud's game. It's a hugely significant game, of course. What have we got? To be fair, Fremantle's defense under any form of pressure has as much resistance as Bonnie Blue on. Shit. We love you, Pom. But yeah, give me some thoughts on the Carlton and St Kilda game. Are you guys going to get the chockies? We've obviously got Melbourne and Hawthorn that are playing this weekend as well. That is Saturday at 1:20. Should be a bit of a walkover for the Hawks, but I don't know. Strange things happen. Clayton Oliver, there's still lots of concerns around him. And one of the reports I heard during the week is saying that a lot of the Victorian clubs, and that would presumably include Geelong, we are part of the same state, seem to be cooling pretty significantly on him. I think a lot of that problem stems from his price tag. He's going for like 1.4, 1.5 at the moment. And he's not worth that in the eyes of, I think, most people at the moment. Certainly the clubs seem to be that mind as well. So for a club to transact with Melbourne right now and pry him out, whether it's Geelong or any other club, I think Melbourne's going to have to take on a good chunk of the contract, kind of Brodie Grundy style from the other year. They might have to kind of find themselves in that situation, which is not ideal. Oh, I just found a turtle's thumb, funnily enough, between my legs. Not ideal. It's not big enough. Didn't make an impact. Pommy, here we go with some thoughts. Saints versus Blues. First test versus the Crows, who are the masters of turnover. Now we have the test of masters of slowing you down. And when you slow the Blues down, we're pants. So big test for us. Shadu got a bit of a laugh as to where we found Raphael's fist. Continuing on, we've got the Bombers and the Swans. The Swans, you'd imagine, get the job done here, right? They're a better team than where they are placed on the ladder right now. They're certainly not the team they were, but they are a better team than this, and I expect them to go back-to-back wins. And against the Bombers, who are, well, at 11th, I'd say they're overrated. James Jordan will be playing his 100th game. We've got the Gold Coast Suns and the Bulldogs. Lachie Well will be playing his 150th, and the Gold Coast have the opportunity to go 6 straight at TIO Stadium. Bonnie Blue theme there with the Turtles thumb reference. Good work, Paul. Just trying to keep it all thematic, mate. Just got to keep those vibes going. Next up, Port Adelaide and Adelaide, there's a lot of intrigue here, obviously, around Willie Rioli at the moment. There's a bit of reporting there. There's been some commentary. I'm going to try and bring up the graphic here. Ben provided me with one. Hopefully that appears on screen now. He's withdrawn from Saturday night's showdown. With all the stress from this week, I feel it's best for me and the team that I take a break. I again acknowledge that my actions after last weekend's game against the Bulldogs were totally unacceptable. I apologise to Bailey Dale on Monday, and I want to publicly apologise again for the stress my actions have caused. I say things from time to time on the footy field in the heat of the moment and that I wish I didn't, and I'm continuing to work with the club on managing this moving forward. It's not in my true nature or character to say those things, and I apologise for any distress I cause to individuals or their families. I want to thank the Port Adelaide Football Club and all my teammates and coaches for their support. My concern here is the word. Firstly, Shadu says it's matter for the cops. I think if opposition or an individual Bailey Dale wants to press charges, well within their right. It seems like they made amends between the two of them. But my concern in here, is what Shadu says. Not in his nature. Well, he's been doing it for over a year at least. And my big concern here, he says in the heat of the moment, right? Where'd that wording go? I say things from time to time on the footy field in the heat of the moment. Mate, that was a DM that you sent after the game. That's not in the moment. It's the same with your commentary around Hawthorn. That was after the game. Now, sure, there's maybe a bit more texture to that one, a bit more background. But these are not in the moment things. The game is over. You've had time to calm down. You've gone through all of your normal post-game routines, and then you've whipped out your phone and done something horrible. It's not in the heat of the moment. Maybe the Zach Guthrie thing was. Maybe this incident involving Essendon was. But there's plenty of examples where that's not the case. And so I'm not... I kind of call a bit of bullshit on that there. Sure, that addresses half of the concerns, I suppose. But I don't buy that. I really don't. I just don't buy that at all. I respect, I respect the commentary around heat of the moment in a game. Stupid things happen. Apologize, do better, move on. But again, stressing the do better. You can't just apologize and keep making the same mistakes. And that's what I'll be watching and many others who I think will be watching very closely for off the back of this. But for me, it's this in the heat of the moment thing when half of the scenarios we're talking about have been games well and truly over. That's the bit that irks me. But yeah. Anyway, moving on to the rest of the round there. He's been suspended for a week, and Ben says has been forced to cut ties with the Mafia. Richmond and West Coast, perhaps the least interesting game of the season, will be played. Richmond have lost 14 of 15 at the MCG. That gives the Eagles a sniff, I suppose. But we'll see how that one plays out. North Melbourne and Brisbane. Where are we? I've lost my... North Melbourne and Brisbane are the final game of the round. And again, probably not an overly interesting one. Hopefully, all eyes are trained, and you can see it with the footage here. Foxtel KO, Channel 7. The live TV game, the one that you want to be watching is the Cats and the Giants on Sunday there at 3:20, as we alluded to before. That's the must-watch game of the round. North have lost 12 of their 13 at Ninja Stadium in Hobart. I'm pretty... Tasmania can't get its own home team fast enough because surely they'll perform better than North Melbourne there. North is having the worst 80-game stretch of all teams since 1963, and that was Fitzroy. That team don't exist anymore. On the VFL side, the VFL men, who are currently 10th, will be taking on the Giants, placed first. 11:35 GMHBA Stadium on Sunday. That is the curtain raiser match before we play the Giants in the AFL. The VFL women team, they're 11th. They'll be playing Sandringham, who are second. That is 11:05 at Deakin University on Saturday. And if you want to keep an eye on the Falcons, Geelong and Gippsland are playing. That's Sunday at 11 a.m, Avalon Airport Oval. And Jesse Mellor is a player that you want to be paying close attention to, Cats fans. Please put this name somewhere. Make a note. Oh, Danders drops in. With a super chat, I might add. My BF Tom Green versus my BF Bailey Smith. How awkward. How are you going to choose? Danders, we'll ask that. Well, I mean, we've been talking about Good grief. We've been making all sorts of inappropriate references in the last little while. You can thank Pommy for that. Gun to your head and you got to choose. Is it Tom Green or Bailey Smith? Who are you going to go with, Danders? Want to know. But thank you, as always, for the super chat. Love having you on board. But yes, Cats fans, please, Jesse Mellor kicked 6 goals for Vic Country, but keep an eye on him. He's an academy player. He is one to watch. This kid could be something huge for us, and we may not have to. Well, yeah, it should be really interesting to see what happens come draft time. But watch that name. So I'm going to pop his name in the comments for people, Jesse Mellor, and I'm going to then pin my own comment here. Keep an eye on this bloke. This is the one. He's a drunken offspring, so I apologize. I need you to choose though. Don't fob me off here, Danders. Tom Green or Bailey Smith? Come on. Choose, please. They've moved Dacos to the goal square. He's going for his second goal. Now that we've gone through all those, we'll bring the scores back up. Oh, right. Okay. Huh. That's the thing. It's happening. Oh, did he miss? Nick Dacos missed. He must have heard Oisin Mullen coming after him. All right. Let's get into some Q&A. Let's have a bit of fun with this before we wrap things up for the night. We're not going to spend a huge amount of time with this. There's lots of hoops content to come. I've still got to edit the AFL 26 video. And again, please, 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 it is Geelong v Hawthorn. And I've told you already, the Cats win by a point. See how it happens tomorrow when it goes live on the Hoops Crew YouTube channel. Ben's given us one prompt here for the Q&A. Will Ballarat locals forgive Bailey Smith, Dander's boyfriend, after he arranged for a pallet of Barry's drink to be delivered as free giveaways? Let me know what comments you've got. If you want to talk AFL 26, please, let's do so. We'll talk about that one in a bit more detail. There's lots to discuss. You want to talk about the Cats game? You want to talk about the Pies and the Dockers? All of that's going on at the moment. Keen to answer your questions before we wrap things up for the night. And of course, I said I was going to talk about AFL 26 as the game of the week, but we're going to get lots of opportunity for that. There is no bigger game in the world to discuss this week than, of course, Grand Theft Auto 6. So we're going to make that the game of the week. I don't want that one though. That's trailer 1. We're going to get to trailer 2 a little bit later on. We are going to have to mute that because I think they use licensed music. And yes, they do use licensed music published by Universal. So we're going to be playing that without audio. So I might talk a little bit over the top of it as we go. GTA 6 is coming May 26th, 2026. What do you think Stengel has going on at the moment? Needs to find some form. I don't like his score involvement and goal assist numbers have started to trend back upwards again recently. There were some great signs in that Hawthorn game, especially in the second half, but he's still not quite consistent yet. I think it's just persistence. I think he's just got to keep going. I think, as I've mentioned a few times, there's players that are learning where they fit in this danger field forward line right now, and some are doing a better job of adapting to that than others. He was one I think that was struggling. Him, Ollie Henry, and Shannon Neal. Scratcher started to make some great inroads last week, especially in the first quarter. Ollie Henry started to thrive at different points throughout the game, was a big step in the right direction. Tyson Stengel hasn't quite hit his full form yet, but there's been signs. Tyson Stengel is not as good as he was in 2022, same as SDK. I think SDK is getting closer again. Now he's been a bit more solid in key defense this year. I think he's starting to get pretty close again. He hasn't been giving away many shots on goal at all. Tyson Stengel, I don't think he's been as good as he has in 2022 ever since, but I think you'll find it soon enough. He's dangerous. You cannot afford to let him off the leash, though. You can't ignore him because he'll cut you to ribbons. So while he remains as dangerous as he is, players have got to be accountable, and that's really important. Any other thoughts, concerns, questions, topics to discuss? Otherwise, we'll jump across to a GTA 6 trailer. I'll get it all blown up on the big screen. I'm going to mute the audio for that because I cannot use it. I will kill this video. I apologize. So we'll do it side by side this time rather than my usual full screen thing for Game of the Week. Licensed music is a killer for YouTube, as it turns out, doxing yourself. All right. No questions at the moment. If any pop through in the next moment or so, we'll discuss them after the game of the show. But let's take a look at Grand Theft Auto 6, without doubt the biggest game of 2026. Great. Didn't even share the screen. There it is. Bam. I can't listen. You're definitely missing a bit without having the audio. We've got licensed music. Obviously, there's a bit of dialogue here, but please look at how good this game looks. And I know this is like cutscenes and those sorts of things right now, but it's running on in-engine stuff. This is how the game's going to look. Please don't forget, GTA 5 still looks fantastic visually. And that game is, by the time this one comes out, 13 years old. 13 years old. It's absurd. Let alone, you've had Red Dead Redemption 2 in the middle there, which looks exceptional. This is undoubtedly going to be, or not undoubtedly, sorry. It's going to be the game of the year for millions upon millions of people. Probably not yours truly, but for millions of people. As Shadu says, looks really good. And I'm so sorry that I can't play audio. But after having one promise, no sex. It's a trailer. It's on YouTube. After having to shut down one video already due to doxing myself, I can't afford to have another one. It's just too much work. It's so GTA. But it's really interesting. Like, we've got this couple dynamic. They're like a couple, a criminal couple. Wonder if one of the two bites the dust before things are out. Roaming Crack says AFL 28 will be game of the year. Crisp just gold, a week too late. Of course, for anyone who's maybe not in the game scene and not familiar with GTA, it is just a big satire at the expense of Americans. So, yeah, that's what you can expect. Roaming asks, where's the map set? We're going back to Vice City for this one. May 26, 2026. Now, of course, GTA 6 could well be delayed again. The pattern of behavior for that developer is announce a launch for 1 year. It gets delayed to our autumn of the following year, and then eventually gets delayed again to spring of our spring. And that could very well be the case again here. But 12 months out, they've announced a specific release date. Apparently the team never believed, like a lot of the developers couldn't understand. There's plenty of people saying we never had a chance of releasing in 2025. It was always going to be 2026. Well, there's plenty of others that, don't understand why they're being delayed to 2026. But when we're talking about a team of thousands of people all working on their own tiny little bits, getting that large scale picture of where it's at is very hard for anyone in that boat. So, GTA 6 is our game of the week this week, and we'll quickly flick back to the scores here, and we will see that Freo within 4 points. They kicked a goal, and then it went straight back sharp, and then Crisp got that one. Okay, right. Okay, we're nearing the show's end. Please, it is our Q&A time. If you've got any other questions, please throw them at us or me. I'm keen to discuss all of those in a bit more detail. Roaming says 20 and GTA 5 year for next year. 26 and GTA 5 year for next year. We'll give another minute for any questions to pop up. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up there. We're, of course, going to be doing the show again next week off the back of a Geelong win against the Giants, hopefully. Expect the match reaction and all that content to follow as well, but we'll talk about that shortly. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, comments around the Ninja Turtles t-shirt? What is it? Throw them at me. It's going to be halftime any moment between these two teams. 30 minutes have passed. Love that Jed will play. Yeah, I did this. I went on the march for Jed Buse last year. I'm such a big fan of him being in. I think he's going to be the matchup for Toby Green, which will keep Toby accountable, that's for sure. All right, we'll wrap things up there. That is the Paul James Show for another night. That is our preview episode for Geelong and GWS. Stay tuned later in the week. Roaming says, make sure you wear your Geelong gear to work so that we win. I will do that. Tomorrow is a very tricky day for me. I'll give people a bit of a peek behind the curtain here. We'll continue on with the video game talk for a second. I'm going into school to work for about an hour and a half tomorrow. There's a few people I need to help with a few things, but otherwise I'm downing tools and I'm driving into Melbourne CBD tomorrow. I have an appointment with Nintendo and I'm going to be playing the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm going to be playing Mario Kart World. I'm going to be playing Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm going to be playing Metroid Prime 4. I'm going to be playing all of the big hitters that are coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 that have been announced so far. Very excited to be doing that. It's going to be a very, very long day, but I am extremely, extremely excited to do that. And then hopefully I have my hands on the Switch well. I mean, it's going to be out in just under a month. So Switch 2, very, very cool. I'll keep you all posted. We'll talk more about it on the Paul James Show on Monday, I'm sure. And obviously stay tuned to all my video game work. And I mentioned that before. It's where you'll find a written review on AFL 26 once I've played a bit more of it. Player2.net.au is where you'll go for that. It's a website, not a YouTube channel. Well, we have one as well. But I'm talking about a website, a URL, 2026 people. People still write words. All right, let's talk about the content lineup for this weekend. Everything that you can expect going forward. Like I alluded to before, post-game live, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. after the game is over. Pommy asked about our appearance before. Maybe we can try and rope Pommy into chat with us off the back of that match. Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on the YouTube channel. The match reaction, you can expect to see that on Monday as well, followed by a live edition of the Paul James Show Monday at 8 p.m. On Tuesday, the chaps will do their reaction, their review of the Geelong and GWS game and start to preview the game that follows. The tipping point will follow on Wednesday at 5 p.m. And then, of course, we'll then look ahead on the Paul James Show, Thursday or Friday, we'll work it out, to the Geelong game against... Who do we play the week after? I've discussed this a lot lately. Who do we play in round 10? It's not the Dogs. It's round 11 for them. Oh, Port Adelaide. A trip to Adelaide to play the Power. Roaming asks, probably the final question of the night. How long does it take to get from my house to GMHBA? About an hour and a half. For anyone unaware, for anyone who didn't get a quick glimpse at my address when I waved the thing around before, I live in Gisborne. So that's about 45 minutes north of the city, kind of wedged between Melbourne and Bendigo. Absolutely on the edge of the CB, on the edge of the suburbs, I should say. For me, yeah, it ends up being Geelong's probably about the furthest regional city for me. Geelong about an hour and a half, Ballarat a bit over an hour, Bendigo about an hour, Melbourne 45 minutes. So it's a nice central spot. Roaming also asks, I guess, second last question, or the last question. Why do I go for Geelong then? My granddad played for them. William James, back in the 60s now. He only played a couple games before he busted up his back and wasn't able to play anymore. But he's a former Geelong player, and it became the family club. I don't actually know who he supported before. I think he might have been a Pies man actually before actually playing for the Cats, but became a Geelong family. Most of his kids, Geelong supporters. He had 7 kids, including one of which was my dad. Dad, fortunately, Geelong supporter. I do want to do a video with him at some point. His health is not great these days. So I think that might be a bit of a struggle. But it's something I'd very much like to do. I would love to take the opportunity on the platform to celebrate him and what he's accomplished in football and his contributions and his connections to the club. It is something I want to do. I need to work out a way logistically to make it happen. He's not the most tech savvy. It's an interesting one, but it's a project that I'm working on. I need to, when I see him next, it's something I want to discuss. And we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I'm keen to do it. Thanks, Roaming, for asking. It's just a tricky situation with his health these days. So we'll see how we go. Thank you, everyone, as always, for having tuned in tonight. It's always a pleasure. It's been good fun. Thank you for bearing with me with those technical issues and mistakes that I made at the beginning and jumping from one stream to another. It's always a pleasure to get to chat to you. And until next time, remain Geelong strong, everyone. Thank you very much. I'll see you later. Go Cats.